I'd just like to start with this piece of news that made the headlines a couple of weeks ago. So Forbes has published their 100 most innovative leaders. And in this list of 100 persons worldwide, there was only one woman who made it to the list. So obviously, you know, this created a lot of backlash on social media, and the Forbes editor actually replied to this to the backlash to point out that women are poorly represented at the top, as we already know, and hence this means that, you know, women has literally no chance to make it to the top 100 list. So I think the very fact that this is happening and the very nature of this response, it points out to a very serious problem in our society today.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. So let's look at the trends over the last 4 years in the US and also in Europe. So we can, on the left, I have a graph that shows the trends in US over the past 4 years. So we can see that at the entry level, we have almost gender equality. And then as we already know, as we move up the corporate ladder, we get less and less women. But this is not the most alarming thing, in my opinion. The most alarming thing is that when we look at the progression over the past 4 years, we're actually seeing very little or almost no improvements in spite of all the efforts and awareness that has been put into this diversity topic. And at the same time, if we look at the European situation over the last 10 years, the situation is actually quite similar. We can see that over the last 10 years, even though generally European countries has made progress in terms of numbers of the percentage of women in corporate boards and also in executive committees. If we take the best case scenario in this case, for example, in Belgium, so in the last 10 years, they managed to increase the percentage of women in executive committees by 15 points. But that means that if we want to reach parity, we have to wait another 15 or 20 years in the best case scenario if we continue at the speed that we are doing today. So what I'm trying to say here is that indeed we are all doing something today, but the progress is too slow and we need to think of different ways to speed up the progress because we don't have another 15 or 20 years to wait.
Yeah. And basically, how do you see the resolution of the problem?
Okay, so sorry, I clicked too fast. So that's a very good question. So, you know, I did some research around the topic, and I think for me, there are three main problems. So the first is on filling the pipeline. So over here, I got some figures from the European Commission on the percentage of women PhD in different broad fields of studies. And we can see over here that actually the percentage of women graduating with a science, math, and statistics degree is at 46%. That is not too bad. But effectively, when we move to the ICE and engineering fields, we see that, you know, there is a large room for improvement. And in an independent study by Ohio State University, it actually showed that the fewer women who enter a doctoral program at the same time, the less likely any one of them will graduate within 6 years. So if we combine these two data together, that means that women PhD students who are in an environment that is very male dominated, they will find a harder time graduating. They are more likely to drop out. And that makes even less women in the studies, and it actually creates a vicious cycle that we have definitely to try to break. Mm-hmm. So this is the first problem coming from the education end on filling the pipeline. But I think another problem that is equally important is to look at the quality of our pipeline. So today, what we, as McKinsey nicely put it, you know, this brilliant female graduate students, they finish university, they come out to the workplace, and they think, oh, I'm going to work very hard, I'm going to break the glass ceiling. And they arrive in the workplace to realize that actually there is not really just one glass ceiling. the whole pipeline is leaky everywhere. And this is true both in the startup scene and also in the company, in the corporate scene. So we can see in this data that I pull out from BCG, women startups that are founded or co-founded by women has a 1.4 times less probability of securing seed funding. And by the time they move up to C-series funding, they literally have zero chance compared to their male counterparts in securing funding from VCs. And in the corporate scene, it's the same trend. So as we move up the ladder, women find it harder and harder to move up to the top. And I would like to remind you at this point that this data are referring to women in the we are referring to women in the all businesses, all industries altogether, and not specific to the tech scene. And if we are looking specifically in the tech scene, actually the situation is even worse.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. I mean, this is really very interesting to hear and to see, and it's one can even say it's quite. I mean, it's a quite bleak situation. But then let me play a little bit devil's advocate. Why is that a problem? Why should even somebody care about it? Because things seem to be working so far globally for the economy. So why shall we be going and trying to change things if things are? I mean, they're broken from our perspective, but they don't seem to be broken from everybody's perspective. Why?
Yeah, that is true. So I think before I go into why is it important, I think there is a third problem that I would like to highlight, which is that the pipeline, not only is it leaky, it is also toxic. So, we have heard a lot, in every day we hear myths like, women are not good at math and science. And scientifically proven studies has shown that girls actually consistently do better than boys in school. And also we have heard that new tech ideas from women are not credible or they are bad investment choices. And statistics has shown that startups that are founded or co-founded by women, in spite of initially receiving less funding, they generate 2.5 times more revenue for every dollar invested over a 5-year period compared to a male-founded startup. And also, the part where they say, women are not credible, I think it's more like a difference in interpretation, because I think women has been shown to make more realistic or even conservative assumptions in their businesses compared to men, and that might be taken, compared to our male counterparts as being not credible. Mm-hmm. We know that, well, not we know that, but we have heard that women are not good at risk taking and managing money. And according to Financial Times, women are found to outperform men at investment by 1.8%. And the last thing that I would like to point out is that very often when women are assertive, they say, oh, you're too aggressive, or, you are very emotional. But the fact is that it has been found that companies with 3 or more women in their board team do better in 9 organization verticals. So why am I pointing out all this? I mean, I think these are just 4 examples that Sophie and I could think of, but I'm sure in our daily lives, we have heard so much more unfair statements. And this is important because when women hear it every day, when men hear it every day, when our daughters, when female students hear it every day, they're going to end up believing it, even if it is not true. Yeah. And this is where the pipeline actually gets more and more toxic. And women, when they start believing that they are not as good as men, it's very difficult to find the motivation to continue moving forward. So coming to what you were saying just now, Sophie, I actually think that it is personally, I think it's a very important issue. And I think that for those of you who took time off your busy schedule to attend this webinar, I think you think that is a very important issue also. And I think this slide actually is actually addressed to the people who are not here. you know. But I'm still going to present it for the very fact that I know that all of us listening in today, that you are convinced that it is an important issue and something has to be done about it, and you want to know what you can do about it. But I think part of what we can do about it is also to collect arguments and to go out, speak to your friends, your family, your co-workers, to make them aware that it is a problem, even if they are not directly impacted. For example, so I split my arguments in 3 different axes, so which basically makes up our society. So from the family unit point of view, from the work point of view, and as a global citizen point of view. So for those who have daughters, I'm sure you want to secure a balanced future for your daughters. So that is the first point. And the second point, I think, is very important as well, because today, you know, women are going more and more in the workforce, and women are more and more successful in their careers, and women are more and more forward thinking today. So if women are advancing in their mindset and men are staying where they are, then that means that the difference between men and women within the family unit is going to, the discrepancy is going to widen. And we all know that that is never a good thing. So I think in all arguments, it makes so much sense that men and women advance together towards a common objective. And the last point, it might look strange for some of you at first look. So it's, we need more diversity in order to have better and safer products for women. So why am I saying that? So today, actually, a lot of the technological products that form an important part of our lives has been developed by and for men and tested on men. So, you know, in some cases, like, oh, my mobile phone is too big, you know, it doesn't, it's an inconvenience, but we deal with it. But in other situations, like for example, when it comes to protective personal equipment, it can become an important health issue. And also the second concrete example that I'm going to give is the dummy that is used for car crash tests. That is today very often used in the automobile industry to make sure that the cars are designed to be safer and better for the person driving it. So this dummy that is used in the car crash tests is actually a man, or rather, he is made after a male model in terms of height, morphology, and everything, and his name is Max. So what happens is, automobile, that's his real name. So automobile industries has been using Max for years to test cars, to claim that, oh, our car is developed to be safer and all that. So in spite of all these efforts, actually, it has been shown that today, in case of a serious car accident, for example, women are 17% more likely to die and 47% more likely to be seriously injured, simply because car crash tests are tested after men and not after women. So these are very real and serious implications that could arise if we continue to develop technological products after the male model per se. So we need to get more women involved. And for those who are business owners or who work in companies, it has been shown that having women leads to, in the top management, it leads to better governance styles, drive more creativity, and diverse innovation processes that are more likely to meet the customers' needs. And this, of course, would enhance business performance. And on top of the fact that I pointed out just now, that it has been proven that companies with more than 3 board members in their board team perform better in 9 performance verticals. Yeah. So and also, you know, there's a 51% of women in the world, so it would be silly not to maximize the diverse talent pool. And according to McKinsey, simply by closing the gender gap, we could inject $12 trillion to the global GDP by 2025 and have 240 million more workers added to the workforce. That is a lot, and that is an opportunity that I think it would be silly not to capture.
Thank you. That's very interesting. It actually, I think the combination of your previous slide and this slide gives the why one should care, but on some of the facts and figures and what it means in terms of results of companies, and then also from also societal and also family and those perspectives as well. But that's very interesting. But then my question is, these are very, I would say there are also articles coming about it, people talk about it, but what brought you, what was important to you when you're creating Girls in Tech?
Mm-hmm. So I think overall, I have a very I have a very lucky and smooth life in general compared to a lot of people. So I think what really shaped my perspective today, it actually starts from childhood, really. So something that my family would not let me forget is that when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, my first childhood ambition was to become the first lady. So why the first lady? Because I wanted to help people, and I thought at that time that because the president is always a man, so the best position, the next best position that I could secure would be the place of a first lady. So that was why I wanted to be the first lady. But of course, very quickly after I realized that, I could be the president if I wanted to. But why am I telling this story? Is to say that even in like very, very young children, there is so much ingrained social biases that is just like floating around the air, and adults capture it, kids capture it, and this plants biases in our heads. And that was why I was talking a lot about detoxification of the pipeline, because I think today it is part of our society, and it is important that the next time anyone says something that is untrue, each one of us over here has the responsibility to correct the person, to say that no, that is not true, because research shows that. So this is one thing that I think is very important. And then when I was a teenager, I had female teachers to teach me in STEM subjects. I think that helped a lot, because I happened to have a very good teacher who made me love sciences a lot. And so obviously, when I was like 15 years old at that time, and I really looked up to her. So if at that point of time, if someone were to come and tell me that girls are bad at math and science, I would have told them that is not true. Look at this teacher. She is so good, and she is so good at math and science. So I think in a way, even when we were children in school, it's important to have a female role model in the form of teachers teaching math and science, so that little girls could understand that, it's not only men who are in this domain, there could be women as well. And then as I move on to university and in my early career, I realized the importance of a support network. So that includes having female friends around me. So I think it links back to this Ohio State University study that was made that says that, when I think women are more like operate better in a group. We are fine alone, but we operate much better in a group. So having this support network is very important. And I was also lucky to have role models in my life. And when I say role model, I do not refer to a person that I refer not only to a person that I look up to and I want to be like that person. I think the importance of role models in shaping a young adult is to show the part of how to do things rather than to be. Is on the to-do side. So I had the chance to encounter role models who showed me how to do certain stuff. And it actually gave me a first taste of what leadership looks like. And in some cases, more particularly, what female leadership looks like. And I liked it. So I started, chasing after it. And I think that really helped a lot. So another thing that was quite important for me, in my opinion at least, is skills upgrade. So I think today in this technological world, things are moving so fast that it's very important to keep in touch with the new things in order to reinvent ourselves professionally or otherwise. So for me, it's quite important to keep chasing opportunities for education, to learn new things, to see what the world has for us. And then after all this, I think like I mentioned just now, in general, I have been helped in my life. I have also had bad experiences. And through the good and bad experiences, I realized how important it is to give, to pay it forward in our own way. So even if it is a very little way, we help another person in a difficult situation that we knew from the past, and we share our experiences on how to get out of it. And then after that, this person would propagate the message, and this is how we can pay it forward. Even if it's a very little gesture on our part, it actually has its way of propagating to more and more people, because other people will hence learn from you and pay it forward as well. So I think all this in my personal life, it has shaped a lot how I built Girls in Tech when I started it in 2016. So at the beginning, I was focusing a lot on educational opportunities. So we offer, for example, global classrooms whereby women could sign up for online classes to learn a new skill. Like this year, the skill that we proposed is 3D designing. Is completely free of charge. And at the same time, I also spend a lot of time negotiating with big conference organizers so that we could get free conference tickets to give away for free for our members, so that they could have a chance to go out and educate themselves as well. Because I think technical conferences is a very good way to get a lot of information and to create a lot of network in a very short time.
Mm-hmm. That's very, very interesting. So absolutely.
And then another axis that we have been developing is towards the startup. So I think today, startups, there are so many startups that we cannot ignore them anymore. And it's very important because startups are the agile building units that are pushing the frontiers of technology. So we do organize a competition like the Amplify competition, which is a competition for women co-founded startups. And through this competition, we try to put the spotlights on women-founded startups. And we try to help them advance their startup, to bring their startup international with our network of VCs and partners and corporate partners. And in the same line, we have startup breakthrough boot camps, which helps the women-founded startup go forward. This year also in Viva Tech, we organized a leadership development bootcamp. So that we organized, there was about 11 hours of group and one-on-one coaching sessions, whereby we bring in our industrial partners, experts, C-level women, to help our members to improve themselves, to get, I was talking about not only I was talking about the to-do part, how to do like a female leader. So that was the part that I was trying to capture by the Women Development Bootcamp. And in the future, next year, starting from next year, we're trying to develop coding bootcamps, hacking for humanity bootcamps in order to solve global issues, and also recruitment in order to help companies look for women, good women workers, and also women find good companies that are focused on diversities and value. So, and what I would really like to do. So for now, our programs are really focused on the I would say the students, the university students, the early and mid-career people. And what I would really like to do next year is to push our coding classes, for example, towards the younger age group. because I think in order to have more women fill the pipeline, we need to start by educating girls, by telling them that coding is not just for geek, by telling them that, by showing them that coding could be useful as well, so that they would gain interest in the domain from a very young age.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. That's very, very interesting. And by doing so, you already anticipated some of the questions about girls in tech and what is your vision.